US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is warning Beijing against increasing its support for Russia's war. So let's pick up on our main stories and President Biden's surprise visit to Kyiv, also that warning to China. We're joined in the studio by Yuriy, an advisor to Ukraine's defense minister. I just think when it comes to the symbolism of President Biden in Kyiv, it just speaks absolute volumes. What's your assessment? Obviously, you're here in London with us today, but to have the US president in Kyiv with your president, what does it say to you in terms of the West's response to Ukraine?
Well, it says to us that Ukraine's victory is inevitable. It says to us that our Western allies, and the US in particular, have an unwavering commitment to supporting Ukraine. It says to us that Russia's strategy of using fear as a weapon is failing, has failed already. And it tells us that there is a very, very deep understanding within our allies that this is a war that Ukraine is fighting not just for our cities, not just for our people, not just for our future. This is a war for our common values, the shared values of Europeans, democracy and freedom. This is why these two words have sounded so frequently, even today during this surprise visit. Democracy and freedom and common future and common efforts. So indeed, it is very difficult to overestimate the symbolic value of this visit, just as it was absolutely essential when Boris Johnson visited Kyiv and the air raid sirens rang, just as they did today during Mr. Biden's visit, and when Rishi Sunak was in Kyiv. So every time a leader of one of the three nations arrives in Kyiv, it means a lot to us on so many different levels.
The magnitude of the visit, as you describe, is apparent. We get that from your words, but just in that case, are you frustrated by the fact that potentially we're hearing these warnings that Ukraine could run out of ammunition because the West is simply not producing it quickly enough? Was there an underplay of how long, a misunderstanding, a lack of understanding of how long this war would last? Are you frustrated by that?
Well, at the very beginning, there were a lot of people who thought that this war would last 3 days or 7 days. And look, we have to understand that not even one country in the world probably thought that such a war of such intensity is possible at all. This is, almost we're a year into this war, and this is the largest war since the Second World War. So the intensity of the use of artillery, of all sorts of ammunition, the rate at which these ammunitions are burned through, of course, it's staggering. And but we always say, and this was the case on so many occasions during the last 12 months, that impossible is possible. It just takes a little bit longer. So we understand the issues, and we are very happy and we welcome the beginning of the discussions about Western defense industry stepping up their effort to ensure that Ukraine continues to receive the necessary ammunition in good time.
You're not going to answer this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How close is the Ukrainian military in terms of running out of ammunition?
Well, look at the battlefield. It is stable. We're defending Ukraine, and we are preparing for our counteroffensive, which is what our Minister of Defense, Mr. Alexei Reznikov, said, what our President, Mr. Zelensky, said. So we are in this fight. We are committed. We continue the fight, and we continue to talk to our allies with the view to facilitating and speeding up the military supplies.